Obviously, we kind of have to discuss CoreWeave after this big move that just happened in here in the past week, where you ripped from basically 60 something dollars to somewhere in the 100 handles up in here. So we had a high in here on the day of 116.54. That's where we're in place our Fibonacci level, and then our revert to the mean back here. The zero is going to be all the way back here at this low of 33.52 that we had just last month. So going forward, that is what we're going to place in here, just because we don't have that much action or much time behind all this, because this was just an IPO about a couple months ago. So we kind of have to keep that in mind as we're looking at CoreWeave in here. Now, all in all, why did we have a surge basically in the overall options activity today? Well, obviously, not only because of this past week right here of this big rip that we had, but they also opened up some more contracts for the May 23rd expiration. So if you noticed in CoreWeave today, if you looked at your 23rds, they opened up a lot more puts and a lot more calls on each side in there. Your put call open interest ratio was basically 1.25. So you had more puts than calls. Basically a little bearish tilt in there. But overall, the volume, you still had a little more puts rather than calls, but it was kind of closer to even rather than anything. But it looks like everybody's kind of setting up for significant activity in here still going forward. So we did have a big pullback in here, high to low of around $17 in here on the day. Obviously, that's kind of what it needed after this big rip in here in the past week. So basically a $20 move, down move on $100 stock. That's a huge move, right? So going forward, where does this all kind of put us? That is kind of the real question. The 23.6 fib level is down here at 96.95. Obviously, our resistance is up here at that high that we hit in here today of 116.54. Below the 96.95, we're looking at 84.83. And then below that, that 50% fib retrace is going to be at 75.03. The only moving average that we have on right now is going to be this 9-day EMA, because we don't have that much time clocked in yet. So this 9-day EMA is going to be down here below that 38.2 fib level. And that's currently trading at that 83 mark. You can see the past 2 days just skyrocket volume in here, super, super overbought, but everybody's buying into the hype. Everybody's kind of jumping on this train right now. How much further is it going to go before it kind of comes crashing down? Usually you get a big hype like this over a week, little consolidation up here, and then kind of a big jump down. It might come sooner rather than later, not quite sure, but we are opening up more and more contracts in the options chain for CoreWeave, as indicated by today when they opened up all those May 23rds in here. IV rank right now is 46, because take that for what it's worth. This is relative to itself. So it seems like it's not that high, but it kind of is. $7.30 expected move just in tomorrow is what everybody's pricing in. You go all the way out to next Friday, about a $20 expected move. Friday after that, $24 expected move, go all the way out to June, right around a $30 expected move is what everybody is pricing in here in CoreWeave. So that's going to be something that we need to kind of monitor in here, just how much is the volatility going to contract. And you can see in here, we had those pre-market highs coming in right around that 119 area, although we could not get back up to them here. We tried as best we could, 116.54. This was a clear close, or an open and close over the 9-day EMA, and it just could not hold that here on the 30-minute chart. Then we kind of had some indecision here before everything just kind of fell off. And then obviously once the market kind of went, everything else did too. So going forward, that's kind of what we're working with in here. We have this 9-day EMA that we kind of have to kind of keep an eye on our 30-minute chart. And it looks like in after hours, we're down here right around that 102 range. So a little bit of a pop out of $2 from where we closed at in here in after hours. So we'll see how much further we're going to gap down, or are we going to continue to gap up and start cranking our way higher and higher in here in CoreWeave? That's going to be the question. You see the 2 weekly candles right here, just huge high to lows. $30 week right here. And then this past week, obviously about a $40 move that we had from our high to low just this week. So $30 and $40, that's a 70-point move in 2 weeks. That is crazy here. So we were just literally trading in that basically down here in that $40 range. Now we're already in the 100 handles like we just mentioned earlier. So we're going to see what happens in here. Again, pretty large expected moves. This is kind of hard to borrow stock, but the volume on here on all your options, super, super liquid, fun to play with, and the markets are pretty cheap in here. So we'll see what happens in here for CoreWeave going forward. Basically, for something like this, where we're kind of in between, we don't have a lot of, it's kind of hype based. There's not a whole lot of data to back everything. Just picture nice whole numbers on the way up and down as we're heading to these fib levels right in here, right? So 100, 105, 110, kind of keep all that in mind as we're kind of in between fib levels. And then once we start to get to the fib levels, then that's when we can actually use them as a better statistical, I guess, well, support and resistance. So again, that's what's happening in CoreWeave. So we'll see what happens tomorrow, and then as we work our way into next week. All right, guys, if you like this video, make sure to check us out on all of our social media. We also have a Discord service if you're interested, and you can find all of our socials in the description below.